Good morning, everybody. Hello, how are you? My name is Fleur, and I'm here again, and hopefully Maria is going to join us, and we're going to get cracking with this live. So just bear with me a moment or two until I get Maria on. First, a little moment of clicking around. There we are. We have Maria. We've done it really well today.
Good morning, or good afternoon, depending where we are in the world. Hello, Fleur.
Hello, good morning. Well, good afternoon. You're in your afternoon, aren't you?
Yes, I am. 3 p.m. here in Bali.
And how is
It's
everything over there?
it's good. Good. Well, it looks like it's gonna rain again. So yeah, just checking connection is okay. Everyone can hear us.
I think so. I think so. I can hear you okay. If you can hear me okay.
Yes, I
Yeah.
can. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And we are really, really sorry about last time. We had a technical issue that we finally decided to do it from our personal account, our live. And here we are today sharing Oxygen Advantage Instagram profile. And thank you for all of those that helped us to go live here.
Yeah, so I think the first thing we've got to do, Maria, is introduce ourselves. Because last time we just went full into the conversation and we didn't even say who we were. So if you want to start, Maria, you go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. So those of you who do not know me, my name is Maria Dobos. I'm an Oxygen Advantage and also a Buteyko breathing instructor. My focus is on hormones and how we can bring balance and harmony into our beautiful bodies. So the focus is really on women physiology and hormonal imbalances. I come from a corporate background, and 10 plus years ago, I went through a really difficult burnout, which of course had a major impact on my hormonal system, putting me in a menopausal state, meaning that I haven't had my cycle for over a year. Also experiencing a lot of the symptoms that come along when we are menopausal and perimenopausal, both physically and emotionally. So I had no idea what is happening to me. Of course, at the time, we did not have so much information out there. So I was looking around and trying to find what is happening to me. And at a point in time, I became aware of hormone therapy as a holistic approach, like female hormone therapy, using yoga, different various energy practices. And also I bumped into breathing. And this is where I talk about the Buteyko breathing. So that was back in 2012, which for me, it was like an aha moment. And I was like, oh my God, I had no idea that our breathing can influence our physiology in such a major way, and our nervous system, and of course our endocrine system. So I've healed through with the power of breath and also hormone therapy. That doesn't mean that this is the path for everyone. And I also want to say, and I think this is for Fleur as well, but none of us are doctors. So we are here to share from our own experiences, and we've created something that we are extremely passionate about. We learned a lot about breathing and hormones, and we've experienced, both of us, what it means to go through hormonal imbalances, how the body experiences all these changes. And we found ways to navigate through these changes with more ease. And this is what we are passionate about sharing with all of you. And I will repeat mainly a lot of things that I've already said last time we were here live, that what we've created here today is not just for women. it's for anyone who feels that they would benefit from knowing what is happening in a woman body and how this affects our lives. So that's in a nutshell about me. I mean, I live in Bali for the past 2 years, and this is where I work and offer my services to groups and individuals, and to everything I actually do nowadays. Breathing is the foundation of my work. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Flair?
yeah. I totally agree with you. And also, I would repeat as well that, you know, what we've created is not just for women that are in menopause right now. And as we know, we can start having hormonal imbalances even starting from the age of 35. So it's not only, you know, for somebody who says, oh, right, okay, I know that I am in menopause. It's also for those younger women that can also benefit from getting a lot of information on how to prepare their body, and their mind. So yes, I'm going to introduce myself now. Otherwise, I'll start babbling and I'll go off on one. So yeah, my name is Fleur Conway, and I live in Spain. I've lived in Spain basically all my life. My original professional background comes from the veterinary world. So that's why I guess I'm really passionate about anatomy, because one of the areas that I was really passionate about when I was working in the veterinary field was surgery. So I used to love surgery, operating, etc. So I really like anatomy. So, but through my life, I've had lots of changes. I've had lots of traumatic issues. And so life has sort of taken me to work with people, to do a lot of self-work on myself. So I started off in the emotional field, in life coaching, and then I wanted to bring in work with the body. So yeah, my sort of like my hormonal issues and problems that I started having was when I was 31, I had to have a hysterectomy because I had adenomyosis. And so I spent a couple of years where I was going backwards and forwards to doctors. I was having all types of tests. They wanted to give me hormonal treatment to basically put me directly into menopause. And that was the only solution that I had. But I was in so much pain that in the end it was like, just let's go through surgery and just get it out. I want to, feel better. But I didn't realize, nobody told me back then. I'm 54 now. I was 31 then. So it's quite a few years ago. Nobody told me that I could have issues afterwards. Okay, I've still got my ovaries. Okay, my ovaries aren't really working a lot now at all. But I did have hormonal changes, and I had a lot of problems with adhesions. I had problems as well with the scar tissue. So nobody told me how to do anything about this. Now, with what I know now, I would have done so much, and I would have changed so much, so I wouldn't have had to go through all of those issues. And actually, it comes to mind now that, one of the issues that I had, and I still actually have, but to a less degree, are digestive issues. And there was somebody that actually posted a question about digestive issues. So maybe later on we can touch on that a little bit, on how our breathing can affect our digestive issues. So anyway, I had these problems, abdominal pain. I felt a lot of heaviness in my lower region, pelvic region. So that led me to want to help myself on a physical plane. I mean, I've done a lot of belly dancing, I've done a lot of yoga, but I needed to do something to help me with my pelvic floor. So that's what led me to low pressure fitness. Low pressure fitness, we work with abdominal vacuum, myofascial release, and we're working a lot with the diaphragm. Whilst I was learning low pressure fitness, I was also thinking, okay, when we're doing yoga, when we're doing some type of activity, we are very focused on the breath at that moment. But what happens the rest of the time? When we get back in our car, when we go back home, or we are going off to work, or whatever we're doing, what is happening with our breathing then? So this is where I came across Patrick McKeown's work. I did a few of his trainings, sort of like on a personal level. And then I decided I wanted to become a professional in this field, because it's something that really, really helped me on many, many levels. So I am also a master instructor. I instruct and form instructors in Buteyko method. I also oxygen advantage advanced instructor, low pressure fitness trainer, life coach. And so when I work with people, normally one-to-one, I also do group sessions. I also bring in all that, the rest of all the knowledge together to be able to really help that person on all levels. But for me, always the breathing, the breath is the pillar. If breathing is out of sync, all the rest of our systems will be out of sync in more or less measure, because our breathing affects absolutely everything. Our breathing affects our mind, our emotional balance. It affects our posture. It affects our digestive system. It affects our facial development. It affects our bones. It affects our immune system. It affects absolutely everything. So if our breathing is out of sync, some point our sleep, our mind, aches and pains, we will have more pain perception, we will have more tension in our muscles, we will have, this overactive mind that doesn't stop. So our breathing and how we breathe every moment of the day and during the night is extremely, extremely important. And when we come to talk about perimenopause, postmenopause, let's just say menopause, there are a lot of things that are going on within us. It's not just the hormonal imbalance. It's also about our sleep. It's also about our stress management. It's also about our mind management. It's also about aches and pains, our muscles, our digestion, etc. So breathing is pillar. So anyway, I'm going to stop babbling now, and so you can continue.
I'm wondering what else should I add, because you covered so many important things that we agree on, and we need to educate ourselves. And I think this is the most important. Women, regardless of the age, we need to educate ourselves. We need to understand. And somebody said in the comments, and I made some notes as well about some questions that we had. It's important that from an early age, once we start with our first bleed, we do learn what is happening with our body, how our hormones are affecting our behavior, our perception of life, and how we experience things. So regardless whether you are a teenager or you are someone who's going to perimenopause, it's kind of the same thing, just going backwards. We have all those ups and downs, all those emotions, all those issues that most teenagers have. And if we look like a hormonal chart, we kind of like see the same thing, estrogen, progesterone, really going up and down. And the same thing happens after the age of 35. Once we start experiencing the decrease of estrogen and progesterone being the two key hormones. So we are covering a lot of important things in our course. I would say it's a mini course, but it's packed with so much knowledge about hormones, how hormones affect our life, brain connection and hormones, sleep, and so much. We have 7 beautiful modules, and also we have a lot of practical exercises. So women might experience hormonal changes to their lives, and some might not. So we all are from different groups, so we all belong to different groups, but educating ourselves is key to know what is happening. When we talk about the endocrine system is continuously communicating with our nervous system, and the hypothalamus is kind of like a bridge in between. So if we are continuously stressed, of course our endocrine system is being affected. So the hormones being secreted, they are not being secreted by the gland, and there is always something going wrong there. So it's important that we learn about breathing. The other day I was holding a session at one of the places I teach hormone therapy here in Ubud, Bali, and one of these young beautiful lady came to me and said, I cannot get pregnant, but I cannot even stay still when you talk, because I just feel like I want to do something. So this is again proof how we are wired. We spend so much time on our screen. We spend so much time running around doing so many tasks that we are driving ourselves crazy. So if we are continuously living in a more fight and flight response, so meaning that our sympathetic nervous system, it's a little bit more active than the parasympathetic, and it's kind of like always being in a driver's seat, and there is an imbalance, and that imbalance will also affect our hormones, and that will affect our breathing. So when our breathing is fast, rapid, shallow, we are in a fight and flight or freeze state. In that state, if you are a woman and you're trying to conceive, the body doesn't feel safe. The body doesn't feel safe to receive and to hold a soul there, because it feels that we are in danger. Whether that danger is in our head or not, it's not the point. The body doesn't feel safe. So a lot of women are living in this low-level stress state, and they're wondering, why do I have all these hormonal problems? And one thing I always say, check your breathing. See how you breathe. The way you breathe influences the way you feel. The way you breathe influences the way you sleep at night, because our breath mirrors how we breathe during the day. That's how we breathe during the night. So educating ourselves what is happening throughout a woman's life is key to understanding all the symptoms and coming to the conclusion there is nothing wrong with us. We are hormonal at all times, because we are beating ourselves up so much, and we are comparing ourselves because social media looks so perfect. Everyone's lives look so perfect but mine. That's like, what's wrong with me? And then we start having all these ups and downs, mood swings, which are coming anyway with the hormonal changes, but we are actually adding a lot to it. So in this course that we are so passionate about, and we've created with so much love for women, we've created something that I wish I would have had almost 14 years ago. It would have been a lifeline for myself. I had no knowledge of all these things that are going on in my body, in my mind, in my brain, what's happening with the emotions and how our emotions are actually affected by the way we breathe, by our nervous system, by the hormones, and so on and so on. So what I want people to understand, that there is a lot of love put into this course, and of course there is a lot of factual scientific things as well. So it's not just something that we've just kind of threw together. So we worked really, really hard to create a very simple but very rich course with so much information. Somebody has asked if we are on HRT. So I'm going to answer for myself, and then I'm going to let you. I myself, no, I'm not on HRT. As I mentioned, my healing journey was through hormone therapy and also the power of breath. And I'm going to also answer quickly another question about trauma-induced menopause, and that's exactly pretty much what I went through myself. And just to have an idea how our body and existence can be influenced by so much trauma, stress, and our life experience. Fleur, HRT? Nothing against
HRT. No, nothing against HRT at all. Am I taking HRT? Yes, I am taking HRT. But the reason I am taking HRT is not actually from the menopausal symptoms that I was having, because they weren't actually affecting me so much. My case is a little bit strange in a way. I was going through, the menopausal changes. Okay, I've never really known where I've been at with my hormones, except for when I've gone to the gynecologist and they've done a scan, etc. Because of not having a womb, then because of not having a period, so I didn't know where I was exactly at. So yeah, from my age and from having hot flushes, etc., okay, I'm in menopausal state. The problem that I had is that I had COVID. We think it was COVID, and I had a really, really bad effect, neurological effect on my legs. It affected my muscles. I went through hundreds of tests, MRIs, brain scans, the lot, you name it. I had absolutely everything, and they were giving me all different types of treatment. And one of the things that I eventually said, look, I am going through menopause. Menopause can also influence our inflammatory state, can also influence our muscles, and we lose muscle, etc. What if I try HRT to see if it will help me with the issue with my legs? So that is why I started HRT. It wasn't so much because of what I was having. I was having hot flushes, and that obviously is they've gone now. But the hot flushes weren't actually something that were really, really bothering me. My sleep was a little bit out, but then I was having these really serious problems with my legs. So I'm not really the best one to talk about HRT from the menopausal aspect. But there is something that I'd like to point out with HRT and with menopause. There's a lot of information out there. I mean, there's like a boom right now with HRT. If you have menopause symptoms, HRT. Yes, HRT is extremely helpful for many women, and there is a lot of information out there that HRT is good as well as preventing further issues. So yes, if a woman wants to go down the HRT route, that is absolutely fantastic. But that doesn't take away that we need to check into our breathing, that we need to check into our habits, that we need to check into our lifestyle. Because even though we're taking HRT and we're replacing our hormones, or we're giving ourselves a boost of hormones, that doesn't mean that our breathing is automatically going to go back into a functional, optimal manner. Because one of the things that happens with our breathing is that when our breathing comes out of sync, I say it like that, it comes out of balance, we continuously breathe like that in a chronic state, and it becomes a habit. And then once that habit is installed, our breathing continues like that. So whether we have HRT, whether we have painkillers, whether we're taking, for our anxiety, whatever medication we might be taking or supplements, our breathing, if it's in a dysfunctional pattern and it's become a habit, it will continuously stay in that dysfunctional breathing pattern. This is why it's so important to address our everyday breathing. And there are a lot of people that do yoga, there are a lot of people that do Pilates, a lot of people that meditate. And so they automatically think, oh, my breathing is fine because I do yoga. And no, that isn't necessarily so. A lot of the people that I work with, they are yoga instructors. And actually their breathing is completely out of balance. So there is a lot of misinformation about the breathing, and we are talking about our everyday breathing. And one of the things, for instance, that we talk about in the course is we talk a lot about sleep and what happens with our breathing when we're asleep. And one of the things that can happen when we are in the menopause stage is that we can have up to 200% more we have more probability, 200% more probability of having sleep apnea. And sleep apnea starts when we start snoring. And we start snoring because we start breathing with our mouth open. We're also losing collagen and muscle fibers because of all that change. We also put on a little bit more fatty tissue. And one of the areas where we put fatty tissue is around our tongue. So it is extremely important to really check in to our breathing, and that if our breathing is out of balance, to bring it back into balance. But by this, we know how to do it and to recognize the signs of a breathing out of balance. So going back to the HRT, yes, definitely. It doesn't mean if you're on HRT that your breathing is going to be in balance. They go hand in hand. I mean, yeah. And as you're saying, we have a tendency to be overstressed with our daily life, with our expectations, with those emotional triggers, with our lifestyle. We've already come into this phase of our life with that high stress factors. So our breathing has probably been out of balance for many, many, many years. And even for many, many people, it's been out of balance since they were a child. A lot of women, a lot of people in general have a lot of anxiety, have panic attacks. And that when we look back, we can relate it to a bad breathing habit, even from childhood. So breathing is quite complex. It's quite complex, but in our course, we have put it all across in a very simple way.
And when it comes to menopause, perimenopause, and all hormonal imbalances, the least talked about is breathing.
Yeah.
The least talked about is breathing. What is what we are actually advocating here? It's not the breath work that hyperventilates. We do not talk about all these breath work, breathing techniques that are out there focusing on releasing trauma, emotions, and so on and so on. They have a place in the world, and that's good. But what's important to understand before we actually go in one of these sessions, we need to understand what's happening with our day-to-day breathing. So if our day-to-day breathing is not functional, from looking at the three pillars of breathing, the biomechanics of breathing, what type of muscles we use when we breathe, the biochemistry, how we actually we can build up, what's our tolerance to the buildup of carbon dioxide, and also how fast we breathe when we talk about the cadence of breathing, and this is the psychophysiology of breathing. So if we bring all these three together, and if one of us is off, is like a stool, it will not help us to get the nourishment, the oxygen that our body needs. So what happens in these breath work sessions, a lot of people go in and they already have so much trauma that they carry, and they already have a dysfunctional breathing pattern. That could be from lifestyle, that could be from so many different reasons, and they get into a fight and flight state during those sessions, and they come out traumatized. Just today I met with a dear colleague of mine, and he was just telling me that how in one of these in one of the places where he teaches, that one young woman just approached him and saying that, oh my God, I don't want to do any breathing because I went to a breath work once and I just got out traumatized, because we don't understand what happens in the body, in the brain, when we get into those stages. And sometimes, because now it's so fashionable to be a breathwork teacher, that sometimes we do not have the background and the knowledge to actually back up what we teach. And I see a lot of breathwork teachers, and I, you know, this is really not about saying that breathwork doesn't work. Of course, yes, it helps us, but we just need to make sure that each breathwork teacher understands the physiology of breathing as well, and understand that some breathwork is not for some people. We need to make sure, you know, what is happening with the person who's attending my session. Can they actually do hyperventilation? Can they actually do this type of breath work? In most cases, we don't check. People just come in and then let's just lay down and let's just start breathing and breathing and breathing. And the louder, the better. And this is what you get here in Ubud, Bali. Like, this is like a capital of yoga and breath work, and I would say illumination. So all you can see that, and everything is just letting go, and big breath and big. And sometimes I feel like, OMG. And this is what you take out from those very well-known places where you do these breath work and yoga and whatever session you're attending, and you're taking it back to your home, and this is how you should be breathing. It should be loud, it should be all like with a big volume, and that's another case. And then they come to me and then I start talking and they look like, what's wrong with you? What do you mean? It's like, that's not how 95% of Bali is teaching me how to breathe. And I'm like, okay. And I do get this feedback a lot. And what we do here, we are teaching, we're bringing light on how we should be breathing when we are outside, first of all, of those sessions, and also be more aware how we breathe when we practice yoga, when we practice Pilates, when we do our weight training session, when we run, when we do all these exercises, because that can have a major impact of the benefits that we are taking away from these practices. And as we of course age, and we are experiencing all these hormonal imbalances, and hormones are decreasing, there is a lot that's added to all those symptoms: emotional, physical, mental. I feel, and I'm confident that anyone who will go through the Breathing Through Menopause course, whether they are experiencing menopause, postmenopause, perimenopause, or any hormonal imbalances, and you might be a man and wanting to learn about how to understand, whether it's your partner, whether it's your mom, whether it's your sister or your client, it is a course that everyone will have some benefits from it, and you will feel like, oh yes, there is something that I did not know. And sometimes we just need to keep hearing the same things, and because information is scattered all over the place, we actually brought all this valuable knowledge into one place where you can have it anytime you need to just access something about hormonal imbalances, breathing, and what women experiencing.
You've actually touched on a very important point, is that we need a good foundation. When we have a good breathing foundation, so our base is solid, a good foundation, then we can, if we want to, we can go and do all these other breath work practices, because when we come back to our normal breathing, our habitual breathing, we'll go back to a functional, optimal, good foundation breathing. But as you say, if we start off with already a bad breathing pattern, and we go and do these breath works, which are in some cases actually quite extreme, then what is going to happen to that person when they come back to their habitual breathing? Their habitual breathing is going to be all over the place. So this is, the difference with the breath work that we do. It's not really, I wouldn't even call it breath work, because yes, we are working with the breath, but what we're doing is we are totally balancing the breath. So we're working with that good foundation. When we have a good foundation, it's going to influence positively on our sleep patterns. It's going to influence positively on our emotional, on our mind. It's going to help us with the hot flushes. It's going to help us with that anxiety. It's going to help us manage everyday situations. This is something that I've noticed within myself. At the moment, I'm going through some difficult times. There's family issues, health issues, etc. And I notice that I'm managing it in a really calm way. That doesn't mean that emotionally it doesn't affect me. Yes, I get emotional and it affects me, but I can come back to calm. I can come back into calmness. And I've noticed that if there's anything else that goes on in my life, that's something that happens, because things happen, and sometimes things happen, like, for instance, the other day, I went to start my car. I had to go to, I had to rush off in my car and go to a certain place, and I had to be there at a specific time. And I went to put the key in the car, and the key literally broke. It fell apart.
Oh.
And it was like, now what am I going to do? And I didn't even get in a state about it, because I managed to keep calm, because already I'm in a calm state. So if you're in a calm state, and that is through your breathing, through having a balanced breath, even if situations happen and they might affect you, immediately you can come back to a calm state. And this is when we have an optimal breathing pattern. So yes, that is something that is really important, is to, take note on the difference of, the breath work. That there's a lot of the hyperventilation, and the hyperventilation isn't good for everybody. And if you have a good base, then when you do these other types of breathing exercises, yes, you can get a lot of benefits. It can help a lot of people. But what is your foundation like? And the other aspect that you've just pointed out as well is that, yes, there's a lot of information out there, especially around menopause, what we should eat, what we should be drinking, what supplements we should be taking, whether we should take HRT or not HRT, what happens with our estrogen, what happens with our progesterone, our cortisol, testosterone, all this information. Oh my God, all this information everywhere. But half the time, people don't know what they have to do. It's like, okay, we've got all this information, and now what do we do? So this is what we've done with this course, is that we've gathered the information that we think is important from the journey that we've been on, and from seeing what we would need from this aspect, from our menopausal journey. And so we've brought this information together. We've brought the breathing together, the information of the breathing, and we put it all together in a simple way, but there's a lot of really important information there. And most important, we have given the practical side. So immediately you can start practicing, putting it into practice.
Yeah.
So yeah, have you read any questions there? I need to put my glasses on.
I scrolled through. It was about HRT, the trauma-induced menopause, and also about how important it is to teach women during, to educate women once they have their first bleed, what is happening in a woman's body. You were saying?
Yeah, there was just one question that I wanted to answer. I actually saw it was posted. I can't remember now where. But somebody was asking about digestion. That if, you know, when we change our breathing, if that can help digestion. We have to think that our diaphragm it's like it moves like a jellyfish, and it's just, you know, within our rib cage, and it is separating our thorax and our abdominal cavity. So when it contracts, when it contracts, we breathe in, and when it relaxes and it goes back up to its stone shape, we exhale, we breathe out. So what is happening is underneath here we have all our digestive viscera and organs. So when the diaphragm is moving, and if the diaphragm can move properly, if there's no muscle tension and we're breathing properly, so there's a good mechanics, what happens with all the digestive organs? It's working as like a pump. So it's giving like the organs like a massage. It's also helping the blood circulation, the lymphatic drainage, and also the esophagus goes through the diaphragm. There are lots of muscles that are connected to the diaphragm. So when we're breathing in an optimal way, and as you're saying, we look at breathing from 3 dimensions. So we're looking from the biochemistry, from the biomechanics, and also the neurophysiological side of it. But on the mechanics, one of the points is, how is the diaphragm moving? But another important aspect of our breathing, if we have a tendency to breathe through our mouth, and we have our mouth open, that is also indicating a dysfunctional breathing pattern. But when we have our mouth open, the air is drying out our saliva. Our saliva has antibacterial effects, so that can also affect our teeth. But also, our digestion starts in our mouth. Our saliva also has components, enzyme components. So really, our digestion is already starting in the mouth. And what happens in the mouth is going to affect the rest of the digestive system. So if we have less saliva, if we have a dry mouth, we can start having changes within our microbiome of the mouth, which is in turn going to affect the microbiome in our digestive system. So yes, breathing can affect our digestive system on many, many aspects. Also, when we're breathing through our mouth, we're in a hyped up stress mode. How is that going to affect our digestive system? It's going to make our digestive system be hyperactive. So we're not going to digest properly either. And also when we're breathing through our mouth, and especially if we're eating fast or we're eating with our mouth open, we can even swallow air. So a lot of people have a lot of wind. The wind can also be from food breakdown, but we can also have a lot of wind. We can also have a lot of like hiatus hernia, that can also be related to the function of the diaphragm. So yes, our breathing, how we breathe, our breathing patterns can also affect our digestive system. So anyway, I'm not going to go on too much.
And now that we talked about, you just touched on saliva, we can always notice the state that we are in from what is happening in our mouth, how dry is our mouth. So if our work, our day-to-day work involves a lot of talking, we notice that our mouth is a lot drier. So when we are in a rest and digest state, we notice that we have saliva in our mouth. So that actually says rest and digest. So when our mouth is like, if we are looking at our phone and we are eating, that is not the ideal state that we should be in. And as we can see, breathing, it is a superpower. It is something that we have with us at all times, wherever we are, regardless of the situation. Once we learn to manipulate the breath in our advantage, we can change the state within us. We can balance our nervous system, and we can bring ourselves into a restore, rest, and digest state to have more clarity, be more grounded, be more empowered, so-called, feel more powered because you're grounded, like all airy and anxious, and have the clarity of mind. A lot of people say, oh, when I feel zen, I'm more like sleepy. That doesn't mean zen, doesn't mean. It means that you are grounded, you feel empowered, and you have that clarity, what you need to do, and also calmness with it. So use your breath. And when you learn how to manipulate your breathing, you learn to change the state. So by changing the way you breathe, you actually change your physiology. That's what we are teaching. For example, when I teach female hormone therapy, we do use stronger breath work where there is hyperventilation. Before I always go into any stronger breath work, I always make sure that everyone in the room understands what breathing is. And I quickly go through the 3 pillars of breathing. We do some exercises, and then we start with a warm-up for female hormone therapy. From experience, and we know that a very high percentage of the population has dysfunctional breathing. I just don't feel confident as a guide, as an instructor, to start delivering something to a group of people that they don't have a basic foundation in place. And I always get this feedback, oh, well, I'm not teaching basic stuff. I mean, come on, people should know how to breathe. Do you actually know how you breathe? Yeah, it's the abdomen, but that's not just. Our breath should be light. Our breath should be slow. Our breath should be deep. And we cover all these things in the course, and also give practical exercises so we can actually improve how we breathe to ensure that the stool stays stable and our breathing is stable. And we know we have a tool, we have an instrument that is always with us, and it's a superpower that you can always have access to as long as you breathe here on this planet. So I feel we covered a lot of things, yes. And I said it last time as well, and I feel this course, if you feel it's not for you, if you have someone that you know it's going through hormonal changes, dealing with anxiety, identifies as a woman, going through all these mood changes, mood swings, and all the things that we've talked about, this could be a life-changing present. So you can gift someone harmony and energy into their lives. Fleur?
I think we've covered a lot. And this last last bit that you've just said. I think it's a really good moment to sort of like just leave it at this. The only thing I would just add a little bit on the course, it's on the Oxygen Advantage website. So that's www.oxygenadvantage.com. It's only $50. So basically it's just like going out for dinner or going out, or, you know, I don't know.
We wanted
so that's,
we wanted
yeah,
to
$50,
make
which is
it
like,
affordable.
yes, we've made it as affordable as possible, so accessible to absolutely everybody. So yeah, $50, which is like something like £45 or €45, which is nothing really. There are 20 videos in 7 modules, and you know, if anybody has any questions whatsoever, they can get in touch with us. You can get in touch with Maria, you can get in touch with myself, or with both of us, and we will answer. We will, you know, be as much of help as possible. Every now and again, we might jump on a live and answer questions, etc. So, yeah, you know, for the price that it is, it's really worth it. And, you know, it's not because we've just done it, but it's worth it. So I think we're going to leave it at this.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully I'll press the right buttons and it will save.
Yeah.
So if there's anything else that you just want to add, just to sort of like as a goodbye, and then we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, any questions anyone might have, and also those people, because we do know that a lot of people already purchased the course. So if anything is unclear or anything is like, oh, what is this? I don't really get it. Email us, contact us, email Oxygen Advantage. There all the links and all the contact details are within the course. And then we can just gather all the questions and then come back and do another live and just answer all the questions that you have. And I think, yeah, and hopefully we will meet in the summer in Europe. I will be coming back, and we are creating, we will be doing a beautiful retreat together. So hopefully we can, and trainings together, as I will be spending like 2 months in Europe, and hopefully we will see a lot of people around there meeting in person. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. And Fleur, thank you so much for all your support. I mean, we worked so hard over these past couple of months, and you've been just amazing. Thank you. And I love you.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you. Okay, then. Thank you, everybody. We're going to log off now, so I'm going to stick my glasses back on. Bye-bye then, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.